The Mindbuzz Podcast.
Yeah. So the whole thing developed, I guess, Sunday night. There was, and what was interesting about the story was it just like shit just kept developing. Like by the every couple hours there was some new. So at first it was just people sending video. 2 or 3 people had caught video of this thing. You know, just this residential neighborhood, like a nice neighborhood, mind you, too.
Yeah.
Which I guess would make sense, you know what I mean, for somebody to be containing a tiger.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? That occurs like, or would require a little bit of a some funding.
Yeah.
To get that thing kick-started. So the first thing everybody knows is that there's just a tiger rocking around, just chilling, kind of like a stray cat around the neighborhood, except it's 6 times the size or whatever, maybe 10 times the size, walking around. It's got a collar too.
It's a big cat.
People
really,
yeah, it's a big cat, man. It's got a collar. I don't know if it's got little jingles. I think you probably know where he is. You don't have to like find him around the house, but anyway, yeah. So he's in this yard, and they start posting it, or somebody posted it to, one of those apps like Nextdoor or one of those community, I don't know the specific one. But then very quickly there's some off-duty, deputy from a nearby county who comes out of his house and he's like, well, I'm going to, the funny part is like, I'm envisioning
the tiger fucker, right?
The tiger fucker. That's right. Yeah. He got his dick out and everything. So I'm envisioning the thing that made me laugh. And I wish I had mentioned on the show is like, I'm picturing this dude just sitting, scrolling on like his Nextdoor app, just waiting for a situation so he can, so he can get his fucking gun and come cause some damage. So this dude shows up and he's walking down the tiger, he's got his gun drawn, and I guess the owner, and I'm going to get to that in a second, comes out, hey man, don't shoot it. So what ends up happening is he like straddles it. Obviously this guy's handled tigers before, regardless of what his identity or relationship to the tiger is.
So there's this cat that's just roaming the streets of what city was it?
It's Houston.
It was Houston. So roaming the streets of Houston, and the owner somehow comes out and was begging the police officer not to shoot the cat.
Right. So this was like an off duty. So it wasn't like somebody called the cops.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure somebody did, but this was just a dude.
On.
Yeah. I'm sure they were involved in, and they were obviously.
Yeah.
But, initially, it was just some off duty, deputy who had seen the posting on the Nextdoor app, because whoever caught it on video first was telling people, hey, everybody stay inside. There's a damn tiger walking around.
Yeah.
So the guy brings it inside. So then it gets really interesting because he goes and if I don't get all the facts right, forgive me, because this thing is it's a cluster of a story. So he goes on the run with the tiger, loads it up into a Jeep, and goes God knows where. He gets caught somewhere.
Yeah.
And somewhere between that interchange, tiger goes missing. And as far as I know, the tiger's still loose, dude.
What?
But the guy's in custody. Turns out though, he's not the owner of the house, he's renting. Mm-hmm. So the actual owner of the house, to his surprise, somehow didn't realize that there was a tiger living there. So that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So now the dude's lawyer, the latest, and I just saw this came up like maybe an hour ago. The attorney for the gentleman that was on the run. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this guy's wanted for murder. Like he's got a murder charge in a neighboring county.
Oh shit.
The guy who walked the tiger back into the house. So this guy at least is in custody. Tiger's not. Tiger's still roaming around somewhere. And yeah, man. So there's got to be some kind of, hopefully there's a search party looking for this thing, but don't know, man. I would take it upon myself, I guess, get on my bike and cruise the neighborhood, and hopefully he's not in my area at this point, but I don't know how quickly, what kind of space a domesticated tiger might take up, but that's scary, man.
That's what do you even think about, like when you go out? You don't really think about like what you guys were talking about in the show. That's something that you normally don't think about when you walk outside your door. Oh, I'm gonna get mauled by a huge tiger.
Right, unless you're somebody like me, who occasionally, and I don't know if it's just a mental exercise, but sometimes I do, like I jog a lot,
Yeah.
and sometimes I do, that thought crosses my head, like, what would I do right now? Like, if I turn this corner and all of a sudden there's like a big cat, a lion, tiger, a puma or something, just kind of chilling. They say don't run, right? Because it's like instinct. It's gonna chase you.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the proper procedure is, but no, you don't. To your point, no, that's not something you even consider or factor into your existence, that there's going to be. But obviously that's something maybe you need to, because it can happen.
Yeah. Well, I guess right now the people of Houston have to think about that when going out, right?
Better be on your toes. Yeah. And, and there's obviously, every different parts of the country, have different animals, right, that are threatening or scary. We didn't necessarily have, because I know in California there's, mountain lions and stuff like that, or sightings. Here, in the Houston area, occasionally it floods. If you watch the news, obviously we have catastrophic floods like every 2 weeks over here that make like national news. So whenever that happens, a lot of gators get displaced. So that can be kind of scary. Like there's a lot of sightings of like alligators in people's backyards. Florida always gets the big news with gators and crocodiles. They get the
media for
They do, but we have dude, there's a lot down here too. Really? Probably not as much. But like I've seen them just in my regular you probably heard, like on the show I mentioned that. Yeah. Throughout the course of my life, like I've had a handful of like actual gator sightings just in regular walking around. So, you never, I guess you never know, right? So it probably does behoove somebody to kind of have a escape route or a plan in your head, just in your normal, you might have your earbuds on, or you might be checking your Instagram or doing whatever, but there are wild creatures out there won't think twice about eating you.
Before we get any further, Ben, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm happy to have you on. I've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks now. So welcome man. On.
Thank you so much, Gill, for having me on the show. I likewise, I've been looking forward to it big time. I really like your show. I know a lot of guests bring up you've got a great voice, man. I'm a big fan of like talk radio. Yeah. So it's a very valuable asset, man. I do. It makes for a good show. So really? I'm excited to be on, dude. Big time.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I've been hearing that shows after shows, but it's just I guess it's growing on me. I've never really thought about that, but
I'm here to pile it on again, man. Just keep the streak going.
Cool, man. I appreciate that. But Ben, you're out in Texas, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Houston, no less. Mm-hmm. How's it over there? Now you got the JRE. Well, not is he in Houston? No,
he's in Austin.
He's in Austin,
which is not very far at all. It's a good, like, especially for where I'm at. I'm from Houston, but I moved once we started having kids and stuff. I moved kind of out in the suburbs, kind of northwest of the city, which is actually a little bit closer to Austin. So I'm probably about 2 hours away, give or take, from Austin. So yeah, it's a pretty close. Close city. Very different though. Austin, is the state capital. Right. Very, very much known. It's the home of the University of Texas. Very liberal. It's kind of the
Okay.
liberal heart of Texas. And so
Yeah,
Austin,
isn't
yeah.
that you? That's like I was looking at it. I forgot where. Don't quote me, but they're saying that I guess the count something the county or something municipality the way they do jurisdiction
Hmm.
uh Austin and the surrounding I guess people in Austin it's like the I guess the blue piece within a
Yeah.
huge red state like Texas.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Austin is pretty blue. Historically, you get down in the valley
Mhm.
along the border is pretty blue. Houston is pretty purple.
Uh-huh.
Houston's kind of a unique place. It's statistically, and a lot of people don't know this because
Yeah.
the media perception of Houston is a lot different than what it actually is. It's statistically it's the most diverse population in the
Really?
entire country. Uh,
Really?
yeah, it really there's everything. Everybody's here. It's an international city,
Oh.
which once again, it's not something unless you're here. You would really take away. You know,
Mhm.
it doesn't get sort of that side of it doesn't really get broadcast into the psyche of the U.S. culture
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, it's very very diverse. And so that being said, politically, it's kind of anything goes. We'll have like Republican mayors, we'll have black mayors. We've had a
Yeah.
openly lesbian mayor.
Oh,
So
really?
the political climate kind of swings,
Yeah.
district to district. So it kind of it's pretty mixed. You get into the suburbs and it's very hardline, right wing Republican, but then other areas are just as far left. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting to have that kind of dynamic within huge. I mean, it's a pretty big city within Texas, right?
oh yeah, it's the
Yeah.
biggest. Um, you
Yeah.
got Dallas Fort Worth, obviously, which is kind of a combination of a bunch of different municipalities, which similar in size uh to Houston as far
Have
as like the whole geographic area, but yeah, the Houston would be the biggest
Have you been
city.
to Dealey Plaza?
Dealey Plaza?
Yeah,
Not familiar with that.
in Dallas,
No.
where
I mean, I've
they
been to Dallas numerous times, but Dealey Plaza,
uh
no.
oh, that's where the assassination of JFK took place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I have. Yeah, I guess I haven't heard of it referred to.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I
that's
guess that's what it's called,
stupid
right?
on my
I don't
part. But
know.
yeah, no, I've been to. I've definitely
I
been
think
to
that's
that
what it's
site.
called. Dealey Plaza. Yeah.
Could be. Yeah. No, you could be right.
Yeah.
I kind of feel stupid. I'll probably know that if that's the case. But no, I've been to like the book depository building.
Oh, really?
I've done the tour. Yeah. I
Oh
walked
shit!
around.
Really? How was it?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like,
What was your
so
experience?
so
What was the narrative that they talked about?
yeah, that's what I was getting at. So
Mhm.
I've been like I went when I was a kid, so it was just I've been a few times, but like the first time I was probably really young, and it's like, oh, okay, you just take it however they give it to you, right? It's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is where he was shot, and this and this. Then
Yeah.
you get older, you've got a little more info at your disposal,
Right.
and then you're starting to question things like, what what really happened. So
Yeah.
I think on the tour they kind of do it. They kind of go with sort of the
Yeah. Of
given
course.
narrative, right? Yeah, they're not going to get too
Yeah.
crazy. although I haven't been in a while, so I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe they are
okay.
getting a little more aggressive. But
Maybe.
yeah.
Imagine a woke person doing that tour.
that would be
Secretly?
interesting, man. Or just like or just like some dude with a microphone. In
Come
a
out
PA
randomly.
or something like,
Yeah.
come out here. We'll do a little free tour. Let me tell you about what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that JFK thing's crazy because there's just so. I mean, that's the conspiracy of all conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that one will never be put to bed.
No.
So
No. Brian from Concerts That Made Us. He's been on the show multiple times. And I mean,
Good-
that guy
good guy,
can.
yeah.
That guy can go. We can talk hours about JFK.
Really,
Yeah, he's
okay.
awesome. Like, yeah. He told me about this. I guess there this one plot about Marilyn Monroe and how there's these on the night of her death that there was witnesses that seen Bobby Kennedy, and I guess their PR manager, I guess quote unquote leaving the scene or something like that was around the corner from Marilyn Monroe's apartment or something like that on the night of her death.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't a PR. He was a doctor. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a doctor. And then I guess they had a certain type of like medicine or something in their bag. I don't know, somehow that they got questioned or searched or something. But yeah, dude, that was one thing that I never heard before about Marilyn Monroe.
Damn. Yeah, that's another one, man, where there's all kinds of different theories on her. And obviously the relationship with the the White House and stuff makes it an interesting source of speculation. So
yeah, especially with John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And and back then too, it'd be different, right? Like if it happened now, because back then the media just operated completely different.
Oh yeah.
And you could have like secrets and shit like that. Like you could never get away with that right now.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? Could you imagine if like Joe Biden, for example, was sneaking you know what I mean, like celebrities in there to bang like that? I don't think there's no way.
Well, who would you think Joe Biden would sneak into the White House?
I don't. That's why I was chuckling while I was saying it. But just whoever the president would be.
Who would it be?
Who would it be?
Would it be Cardi B?
Man,
you think he would sneak Cardi B in there?
He might. Didn't they? They did a little interview.
Or Nas X or something. Who knows? We don't know.
We're going that route. Yeah.
Hey, maybe.
It's 2021, man. Anything goes.
Hey, he's a far left president. I mean, how far can he go?
How far can he go? Man, all along, maybe it's just just trying to get votes.
Yeah.
It's got an agenda behind it. Lil Nas X. That's good. We'll go with that one. That'll be the most likely candidate, I think.
Yeah, he can do his whole the music video routine on Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Wake him up.
Yeah. And I don't think Biden wouldn't know the difference. I don't think he would. You could ask him the next day what happened. He wouldn't have a clue. Did you see his deal with the Amtrak? The little
dude, this guy's always talking about the Amtrak. He's somebody's grandpa when he can't fucking shut up about the train. Every time. Every time. Yes, we've heard your story a million times. Going when you worked with Congress and going to we get it. No, but what did he say? What did he say?
Right. It was
his
just
new thing now.
It wasn't anything new. I don't think it wasn't anything mind blowing, but it was just I watched. It's like a little 5-minute deal on YouTube. I watched him talking. He's at a podium talking about Amtrak, and it was just the story is just so weird and all over the place. And he loses his place, and like apparently the people he's bringing up, were apparently dead whenever the timeline of the story that he was supposedly telling happened.
What?
So so it's almost like, was he just making this shit up, or
okay, all right, yeah,
or does he think? And I don't think it's so. The impression I get from him, though, in his defense, is that I don't think he's genuinely trying to like slide one by. I think he just doesn't. He's just confused, dude. I don't think he's got. I think it is, all joking aside, I really do think he's suffering from a form of, dementia. And so he's probably recounting stories that, maybe they happened, but maybe they didn't happen in the same. I mean, shit, dude, I tell stories where I'll think later. Dude, I'll tell stories on the show where like a week later, I'll sit there and I'll be like, like it's not that wasn't true, but shit. Yeah. There'll be one little fact. So I was like, no, that wasn't In other words, like the context was different, or like I mixed up some
Yeah.
kind of detail, and I'm like, oh shit, whatever. It's entertainment, I guess, at this point. So,
Yeah, like
but I'll
I
never
did.
I'll never tell exactly which ones.
I did with I did a show with what's his name, Bill from the Way podcast, and
Uh-huh.
we did the show, and then like a week later I was editing, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, there was one piece that I didn't miss out. I just mixed up my I guess my chemicals or whatever, and
That can happen.
yeah, oh yeah, of course. And like a week later, we're on doing another podcast, and I told him, I was like, dude, Bill, I'm sorry to break your heart, man, but that story that I told you about the mushrooms, it wasn't mushrooms, it was actually acid, dude. My bad. I took the wrong shit. Or I told you that I took the wrong shit, but it was acid. And he was like, "Oh man, why would you have to do that to me?" But I'm saying, I was like, dude, it was the same concept. That same shit happened to me, but it wasn't mushrooms. It was just acid.
Right.
So that's the type of stuff that I get mixed up.
Yeah, well, and it depends too. Like when you're telling a story, right?
Yeah.
Not to get too. I mean, maybe I don't know. Fuck it, that's what we're here for, though, I guess. So like sometimes when you're telling a story, there's a certain there's something you're trying to convey, right?
Right.
And so sometimes the details, well, it depends what your the purpose, right? So sometimes maybe that does make a difference, whether it's mushrooms or acid. But sometimes in the big scheme of things, if you do get something right like that wrong, it doesn't really matter if you, you know what I mean? If you kind of like paint whatever picture you were trying to do, but
yeah. Well, the message that I was trying to convey is that I fucking seen some crazy ass Rubik's Cube diamond shaped looking things collapse on each other, but that wasn't it. And I was telling him, was like, dude, that was on an eighth of mushrooms, but thinking back now, it was a couple of hits of acid. Yeah.
Right. And I heard that was a pretty recent episode, right?
Yeah, with the Way.
Yeah. I heard that. So that's good insider information. But yeah, I think a story
the
like
more
that.
you know.
The more you know, exactly. Yeah, I put the little logo on there. Yeah. But yeah, a story like that, I think the main point is the Rubik's cubes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Collapsing into the earth. It's not so much whatever substance you were on, because obviously you were on a elevated plane of reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember hearing that you tell that story, and what was your the emotional response? Was it just like an overwhelming sense of doom, or like fear, like personal safety fear, or what was the?
It was more on the line of, oh my God, I can't believe what the fuck is happening right now.
Right.
Like, is this can't be real. It just couldn't. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself, and to add more to that story, layer up on top of layer, it was actually after I finished a joint too.
Okay.
While on acid. So I think that it wasn't just the acid LSD together, but it was that with combined with after smoking freaking, we called it the magic joint, because after that we started fucking tripping really hard.
Yeah, I smoked like what I thought this was, man, I was like probably in my early 20s. I smoked with this guy who the guy brought he brought the weed from somewhere, right? And he was real vague about what it was.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And at that age it's just like, oh, whatever. Yeah. So we smoked it. Cool. To this day, I don't know what I smoked, but I know that immediately it was like, okay, this isn't like, this is something. But since I had no context, I had no clue what I was on. But it was like, I started walking, so I went to go take a piss, and that felt like 30 minutes, but it just had to, I was only like 10 feet away, and I was like 30 feet in the air. Like I was like walking, but I was walking like on stilts.
Ooh, okay.
And but I could see, like I could see my bones and like the muscle structure,
Oh.
like how when you look into a science book,
Yeah.
just to go take a piss, dude.
Yeah.
and I started freaking out because I had some shit. So what popped in my mind, there was something I had to do like that next morning, and it was already kind of late. So I started to get the little spiral of paranoia happen because I had to meet somebody like early, like at 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, dude, fuck. Like, I'm going to still be like this, you know, because I had no idea, like, the duration, what this was going to happen. So, sort of like the regular, like, cognitive process of, like, you know, your daily schedule and shit started to really weigh heavy. And I was freaking out about, like, what time, but at a certain point, like I just let that go and it was just like, okay, whatever, man, fuck it. Like, I think I'll put that aside. I'll be all right. And then it started to kind of become a little bit more positive once that initial like fear went out of it. And then it was kind of cool. I kind of just like gave into it. But yeah, that initial fear was bad because it was like, you can't let go of like a little thought, you know, like, oh, well, this is going to happen. Like, I'm going to miss this little meeting and then blah, 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 blah. So that compounds into like my entire life is over and blah, blah. You know, it's totally irrational, but it's like, so, like those pathways are like so lubricated that it happens so fast.
It happens so, I was going to say that. It just happens so fast without even, you know, being conscious. I mean, you're conscious that it's happening, but it's, once you go in a certain direction and you kind of let go of that fear, and then boom, like you said, it's just a different outlook on the situation.
Yeah, and then it got to the point where it's like, oh, let's turn on some, like, I forgot what he put. I was with this other guy. It was my roommate at the time. And he puts something on, and we both agreed, like, this is, I can't even remember what it was, but it was like, this is the wrong direction. Like, and then, like he put something else on, and it just kind of like, oh, okay. And that was what rescued the whole thing. It was just, you can hear.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. And you started to hear like what do you call it? Like you could almost see I don't want to say you could like see the music, but
of course. I totally agree.
Yeah. And then that's what helped kind of like chill it out. And then
that's actually a real scientific phenomenon.
I believe that. I could see that.
They call it synesthesia or something like that. And people, I heard this from what's his name, from Xander and Stone, from the Xander and Stone podcast. That some people live like that for years, not knowing what that is, like seeing colors and smelling, I guess, images or something like that. Yeah.
I remember. So that's funny because like I remember as a kid having all these thoughts when I was real young about different numbers being like heavily associated with certain colors. And you know what I mean? Like if I think of 5, it was just 5 is blue, like absolutely at a certain age. And I don't know if that was the actual, I'm just giving an example.
Right.
So before, it was like that certain age, like before all the conditioning really took its toll, you know, like when I was maybe 5 or 6, I remember having all these weird, like abstract thoughts about like numbers and colors. And, I would see these weird patterns, like I'm kind of like tripping out, but like I would have these little moments where these like patterns would like pop into my head.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, do you remember what the patterns look like?
Man, not really. Like, I guess I'm trying to think of something to compare it to that would like draw a.
Were they Rubik's cubes?
Yeah, definitely not Rubik's cubes. Like, that sounds so scary too. Like, I remember when I was listening
Yeah.
to that, I was like, I was right there with you, dude. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, it was
These
bad.
Rubik, yeah, because there's something about the geometry though
Yeah.
of,
It was like a
yeah,
black hole. It was like I was
yeah.
staring into a black hole, and everything was getting sucked in, and I was feeling myself going into. I think at that. I think this is what I really think, looking back at that experience, that it was the beginning stages of ego death, and it was the beginning stages
Ooh,
of ego
wow.
disillusion,
Yeah.
and losing all sense of identity.
Uh huh.
But because I was reaching that moment and I let fear take over that part of the experience,
Uh huh.
and then it completely stopped. I stopped myself from going into that type of
Right.
ego death.
Dang, dude, that's profound. Cause like when you
Yeah.
think about those moments, it really is the fear is that losing the grip. The ego is such a like safety blanket.
Yeah.
Even though you can sit in your head, like guys like you and me, we can sit here and talk about like, oh yeah, man, you should like downplay, even in just like the normal walking around sense, like downplay the ego and be more in tune with whatever. But that's so hard. That's so easier
Yeah.
said than done.
Right.
You don't realize, even for somebody who even pays attention, because shit, dude, like 98% of the population probably doesn't even like, oh, ego, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like for but for even like say the like 2% that even give a shit enough to like make choices based on on that reality, would probably have such a hard time, myself included, man. Like, I mean, that's the whole point of what I'm saying is it's so easier said than done. There's so many little things, because once you just think like, oh well, yeah, man, I'm just a being of pure love and all this stuff. But no, man, you're
Yeah.
so attached to these. Um, and yeah, that's funny you say that, because um, that is sort of that balance beam of like
Yeah.
what side you're on, and
Yeah.
how that reality sets
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Like you said, your ego, your identity is something that you cherish. If
Mm-hmm.
something doesn't go along with your narrative of who you are, then what is it? Like it's the challenge. What
Yeah.
it's the challenge. They're challenging your identity, and sometimes that an identity is all we have. I mean, or that's what it seems like, that
Mm-hmm.
our identity is all we have. But I mean, to tell you the truth, I think I heard which it was Richard Alpert, Ramdas. Have you heard of that guy?
I'm familiar with him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He said something along the lines of how we don't. He was saying, in the sense of his own perspective, that he was saying that this person was born and I was called Richard. I was
Mm-hmm.
called Richard Alpert, and the things that I was doing, I thought that society wanted me to do. So, what in a sense, what he was saying was, he was conditioned, and he was told what his identity was, rather than finding out who he was later in life. That coincides with what we were saying about ego. Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I really Gill? Like, am I Gilbert? Or
Right.
who am I? You know, and that's a lot. That's another question that I frequently ask myself. Like, even on huge amounts of THC, like, you can
Yeah.
even ask yourself that, and it's frightening, because do you ultimately know? You don't.
No. And it's comforting that, so yeah, it's one of those things. So the ego, it's a double-edged sword, because there's
Mm.
the bad parts of the ego that you could get into this space where you're like, oh yeah, man, I just want to break from the attachments, man, and live in this
Yeah.
state where I don't think of my ego. But then it's like, but also part of the ego is like, oh man, that cute girl shows me some attention, and I like that. That's ego too. You know what I mean? And you're not as willing to like give up that kind of shit, right? Because it's the stuff that seems it seems innocent enough, but it's still it's still part of. And I'm not saying like love or whatever. I'm just saying these little this balancing act that we do in our head, these little things that complement our ego. It kind of boosts us up, like, oh, that's fit. But you can't. It's got to be all or nothing if you're talking about it in the sense of breaking from that attachment. It's unbelievably hard.
Yeah, and it's freaking amazing how certain chemicals that are predominantly they're in your brain anyways. And these chemicals grow from the ground. They grow just like any other earth plant does. And to be ingested to bring you to that certain state of consciousness is just freaking, it's mind-boggling.
Well, and it's amazing how, like, THC and psilocybin, like human beings, we have like receptor. It's almost like we were genetically evolved to take in these things. And one of the I'm sure you're along with this, but and that's one of the reasons on a political sense, like the push for legalization across the board on a federal level was psilocybin too, man. Same thing, man. It grows from the ground. Like if it's whatever angle you want to take, right? Even if you're like a super right-wing Christian, okay, we'll read Genesis 1:29, man. Like it's of the earth. So whichever side you're on, or whichever is whatever the thing you're trying to push in somebody's face, all bases are covered, bro. Like you should be able to partake in that. Just like you can't grab an apple off a tree, or you can't grab cherries. Whatever. It's the same shit, dude.
Yeah, it's very interesting even to know that certain cultures and certain ancient civilizations used those plants millions of years ago, thousands of years ago. They had cults around. They had mushroom cults. They had different. They even the cannabis plant goes freaking way back. What is it? I think it was China that first were using cannabis medicinally. I think it was China. I don't know. Don't quote me. Something like that.
It is. I got your back, brother. It's China.
Yeah. Have you tried CBD only? Have you do you partake?
Yeah. Well, I not as much as before. But yes, I participate in all of the above on kind of a albeit a little bit lower level.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
CBD though. Specifically. THC for sure, psilocybin for sure. CBD. Not as much, like just because I haven't gotten into the products, but
it's freaking fantastic, dude. It gives you the same I guess body feeling without the weird psychedelic paranoia that's going up in your brain. Yeah, man, it smells like weed, it looks like weed, but when you smoke it, it's just it just relaxes your body. It's amazing. It's crazy.
And
it's really cool.
From what I'm heard, obviously the medical, like you still get the medical benefits.
And you get the benefits, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what was I gonna say? Well, I will say this: like the damn, they're popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? See, that's the thing. You're in California, correct?
Yeah.
So that's kind of old hat at this point, like for you guys. So here, obviously, it's still not even legal here. We're still fighting for shit medicinal.
Are you guys?
And there's a lot of reasons for that, though.
Yeah. What's the status out?
So
like that in Texas.
So just very, very recently, there's been some bills that have gone through and gotten to a vote. I personally am optimistic that before too long, Oklahoma just, and I know every state's a little bit in New Mexico, so surrounding states are starting to turn.
Yeah.
And I think eventually, I think it'll be a federal thing, and but the reason Texas I think is so complicated is because we get a lot of political posturing from the higher, like the lieutenant governor, the governor, and it's more of it's not based on practicality. It's based on making this kind of a stand, right? This like Christian thing. Yeah. But at a certain point, and once again, like we talked about in the beginning of the show, Texas is politically kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I think it'll turn, honestly, before too long. But the status, though, to answer your question,
yeah,
I do that a lot, man. I ramble.
No worries. I do the same thing.
I
go on like 30-minute rants, 40-minute rants, and be like, oh, to answer your question.
Yeah, exactly. Bro.
Yes.
Hey, bro, that's why we have that's why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
That's why we have shows where we talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, the more of that. But anyway, no. But as far as it's still. It's still criminal. It's still, it's all that shit, just like it was, you know what I'm saying, 1995 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's, but I think you can start to feel the wave starting to turn. I feel like it might take us a little bit longer than some other places, but I think it's all going to turn pretty soon.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Do you think it's coming federally, or they're going to get more states involved?
I honestly think.
What's your opinion?
I think eventually it will.
Well, at least for cannabis, right?
What's that? Yeah.
At least for cannabis, yeah. Standing alone.
Yeah, mushrooms might be a little. What was it? DC.
That's just.
DC is decriminalized in DC.
DC,
correct?
Santa Cruz, Oakland, all of Oregon. All of Oregon, and I think Massachusetts. Somewhere along the lines of them, I believe Massachusetts is on like they're slowly gaining popularity out there, just like Oregon is. Massachusetts.
And honestly, I think a lot of it is a generational thing.
Yeah.
And I think so honestly, the main factor for everything being federal is probably just time. You know what I'm saying? Once, the kind of older generation that has certain ideas about it starts to move. Because ideas that they have about it, I feel, are so set in stone. And regardless of how many doctors or whoever is going to present this evidence, at the end of the day.
The evidence is out there.
It is.
It's out there.
Well, it's been out there. It's been out there since I was, 10, 11. Well, shit, even.
It's been out there since the late 50s.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Extensively more now.
Oh, yeah. Now it's almost. And that's why I say time, because now I feel like it's almost just the public consciousness of people under a certain age that like, it's not what reefer madness made it out to be. But I still think the effects of that sort of culture carried and then also to the 60s, I think played a big part in, as a political movement. You've got us versus them. You got these young the hippies, man, and they're free love and they're taking their acid and all this shit, and you group all of that together. THC being included, all this stuff being included, it all gets demonized, and it's all Schedule 1. It's all the same thing. There's no separation. So some people just think the same thing. For example, like my grandma, right? Like it's all the same shit. But those people aren't going to last forever. So I think as public offices are starting filled by people of a certain age, I think those laws will change, and it'll eventually be federal.
And it kind of sucks because in the late 60s, what Timothy Leary was doing, he wasn't the best PR person and he was the face of counterculture, and he was the face of LSD back then. along with Aldous Huxley and Alan Watts and all those guys and Ram Dass, Richard Halpert. But because like I said, he wasn't the greatest PR person for that revolution because he was so. But then again, like that was his own way. That was his own protest about what was going on at the time, and I don't know. I guess I think it was finally it was like October something, 1968. That's when they made LSD illegal, along with psilocybin as well.
Yeah, and that was kind of a nail in the coffin for a big, long ass time.
For a long time, yeah.
You know, because it wouldn't even you couldn't even be open to the discussion.
Yeah, but in the late, which is kind of funny, and not many people really know this, but Delicid was an over-the-counter drug, which was LSD. That was a market name for acid that was being sent to college campuses. It was being sent to psychologists all across the country. People were taking this medicine, and even I forgot his name. His name is Bob something. The dude from Alcoholics Anonymous, the one that he started Alcoholics Anonymous, and he himself was part of the MK Ultra project also, because he took that. They did a study with alcoholics with acid, and they had like a 50. I think that they had a 50% turnover rate that alcoholics didn't go back to alcohol after their LSD treatment.
Wow. Well, it's like,
and that was huge back then, because that was the main thing, all the Puritan culture that was happening in the late 50s. I mean the 50s, and Christians, and they were totally against alcohol. Like it was bad. It was like the prohibition all over again.
Yeah.
Especially with alcohol.
Yeah, man, and yeah, it's weird. Like without, well, you mentioned that the recovery rate for stuff like that was just like the people having success with using ayahuasca or what have you to break, different addictions.
Yeah.
But yeah, alcohol is a weird one. And
Iboga, Iboga is a new one. It's ayahuasca. That's a new one. DMT, ayahuasca, or you get DMT from the ayahuasca brew, and Iboga is a big one. I think that's from South Africa, I believe. I heard Graham Hancock talking about Iboga. Yeah, but that one's another one too. That one is it was our narcotic. People that were on narcotics or no, it wasn't narcotics. What's another drug thing for heroin? It's
like a term for,
yeah. Is there narcotics?
It's funny because I think I know what you're getting at, and I'm blanking.
Shit. Yeah, it's a term. It's a term for those types of drugs.
Yeah.
Like come up. But it's good to treat. The moral of the story: it's good to treat that addiction.
Well, and I think the factor there is that certain drugs obviously have access to bringing you to a point where it psychologically breaks whatever that addiction is based on something. I mean, man, the brain is so crazy. Like, there's so many layers of reality that are happening at the same time. So it's so hard just to, like, in a waking state of consciousness, like, psychologically break down what it exactly is. Like, why do I fucking keep smoking, or what? Like, okay, so that's a good example, right? Like, I used to smoke cigarettes. I started, you're like, you want to be cool. You're like 16, 17, right?
Yeah.
You start smoking cigarettes.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Like,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, like, I quit, I think when I was Like, and I smoke. This wasn't just like, oh, when I go out drinking, like I
Oh,
bought
you're a chain
packs.
smoker?
I was a chain smoker. I
Oh,
smoked.
yeah. Yeah, me too.
At my worst, I smoked probably like 2 packs a day when I was like in my 20s. Yeah. It was
What
bad.
did you smoke?
I switched, man. Like at the end, it was Winston's.
Oh, okay.
But I think I started. Everybody has like a Marble Lights phase. I think like that was real popular. Like, oh, Marble Light, and then I did Camel Lights. I think for a while, and then Winston's was like for whatever reason was my brand. Like
I used to smoke. I used to smoke Camel 99s.
Okay.
Or wides. Yeah. I was a Camels guy. So it was I think I went from Camel Crush, and then from Camel Crush to the pink pack, which was like number 1s or number 90 or something like that. Yeah. It was a flavor, a girly flavored. Well, I don't know why, but
little flavored cigarettes.
It was the wide, which those were bomb. I remember.
Yeah. Well,
I was thinking about those.
You know how dope it used to be when, because I'm sure they don't do this shit anymore, but like the hot girls would come, like the reps from like just at a random bar, right? Yeah. And you just have to put your name and your like phone number or email or something, and they give you a free pack of cigarettes. Just to like, you do that to like drunk people. That is the best marketing scheme in the history of the world. Because who is not gonna like, oh, free cigarette? Like I'll do, bro. I'll give you my social security number right now. Like I'm like 4 beers in, and I'm got like 2 smokes left, and a couple people are like already bumming for me a free pack. But I just remember. So here's something interesting. Did you ever smoke? This is like we buy them. Here we go. I feel like we're about to turn an interesting corner. So speaking of smoking. Yeah. So what we would buy, there was a phase where, through this whole time I was smoking regular cigarettes. This is like, teenage years. But so we'd go to this place called High Times. It was one of those like, head shops or whatever. But this was like one of the big ones. They had multiple locations around Houston. And we would buy these things from India called beedies. They were just wrapped up in this like paper pack. And essentially what they were was like a tobacco leaf, like rolled up. Like regular size, like cigarette length, but real skinny. And I'm sure like it was probably like the equivalent of smoking like 75 cigarettes in one, But we would cruise around smoking those things because they were super cheap, bro. Like you could buy a pack of like 200 of them because they were so skinny. And they'd be 200 or something, like maybe 100. They'd be bundled up in these little, because they were real skinny. Okay. But they would take you. They actually smoked longer than like a regular size cigarette. Oh, okay. Because of the way it burned and stuff. Right. So as far as like for the money, because at that age you don't care what the hell you're putting in your lungs. You're just like, something I can smoke and like blow whatever. So yeah, we'd buy these beedies, and it'd be in this like wrapped up, just like cheap like pink paper, bundled up. And you'd get like, maybe like 100, I guess, of these like little skinny little rolled up tobacco leaves. But you'd light them up, and it looked for sure like you were doing some sort of drug, but and they had these little like strings on them. I'm not sure what those were for, but they'd have these little pink strings tied onto them. But beedies. I don't know if anybody else. It's one of those things where like I don't talk to many people that are like even know what I'm talking about. But really, beedies. Look it up. It's like I guess they're real popular in India. Oh, okay. I don't know if they still are, but
yeah, you were gonna mention something about smoking before we went on that.
About breaking the addiction.
Right.
So so at a certain point. It had to so my wife now, who was my girlfriend then, I have to actually credit her because it was like, you have some people in your life, right? Especially this happens with alcoholics, where you have people that mean well, but they're enablers, right? Yeah. So all credit to my at the time girlfriend, who then became my wife, was just like, hell no, like, no, you're not fucking. So absolutely refusing to where I was backed into a corner. I was like, dude, shit, it's either, she really was like legit taking that hard of a stance where it was like, it's either me or cigarettes.
Oh,
Like,
really?
fuck. Yeah. And I was like, fuck. Like, not, it's never, that never, the conversation never came like that, but she was that hard ass about it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? To where it was like 2 or 3 fights about it. And then I finally was like, man, shit. Like, she ain't backing down, you know?
Yeah,
and
it's beginning to seem like a bigger problem.
right.
Did you think that it was just going to be blown over?
Kind of.
And if you did your hardest to fight it, that you think she would back down, but that was the case, wasn't it?
I probably thought that it would blow over and I could kind of talk my way out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, like I said, it was so it got to the point where it was always like an irritant because we met, I was a smoker. Yeah. So it was always like suggested. So there was a number of years where it was kind of like, but then when we got to the stage where it was like, okay, this is probably like more serious and there's probably a future here, is when she was a little bit more adamant about it. And the conversations got a little more real about it, you know, instead of just joking like, oh God, that stinks, blah, blah, blah. It got into like some actual real conversations.
Oh.
Like, this is some bullshit. Like, you need to quit. Blah, blah. So, okay. I was hard headed. So like, I just dealt with the BS. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then you and then you try to like, you do the thing where you're sneaky about it. Right. Like, so you don't, you pretend like you're not, but then you go out. Right. And then you come home and you smoke.
I'm going to go for a walk.
Yes,
I'm going to go get something from the car.
Exactly. Yeah. And to her credit, like, exposed my ass like every single time. And I didn't like that feeling. I was like, dude, I feel like a dickhead, man. Like, I'm lying, like I'm being sneaky. Like, that feeling, no matter what you're doing, is not cool. Like, you don't feel good about that, right?
Right.
You feel like and then at the same time, it's so hard to defend, because she's obviously right. You know what I mean? I do need to quit. This is going to kill me.
Yeah.
So it's hard. You don't really have a leg to stand on. And so, eventually, I just quit and that was it, man. And then once it was like, you get, just like any sort of habit. Yeah. You get a couple weeks in, 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, and then all of a sudden it turns into like a year. Yeah. And then you don't really care anymore. How long has it been for you? God, for cigarettes? Trying to think. It's been a while. At least 15 years. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. The last time, have you tried to quit before? Like, kinda, but not in my head. I wasn't really quitting. You know what I mean? I was just like, I'll do this for a while. But I had, so the last time I actually attempted to smoke a cigarette was Mexican Nostradamus's first wedding. Okay, cool. I'm giving him a little jab right now. He's, if you've ever listened to Skip the Voice podcast, that's my best friend Ben. It's the other Ben. He's Benito. I'm Benjamin. We both go by Ben, so that's why on the show I introduce myself as Benjamin, so there's not confusion. Yeah, but we both in real life we're both Ben. You know what I mean? Oh. So I'll try to mix it up. I'll try to go by Benjamin, or at work they call me Benji. So I'm gonna try to see if maybe that'll stick. But anyway, so Ben had his wedding, and we were at the time he quit too at some point, but I think at the time he was still smoking. So we were obviously hammered. This was his wedding night. Yeah. You know what I mean? As you do, your best friend's wedding. We were absolutely shitty, and we're in the hotel parking lot, and, he was smoking. I'm like, you know what, man? It's your wedding. Like, for old time's sake, man, let me bum. Because that was like a big part of our like friendship, man, was smoking and stuff. Of course. Yeah. Because it is like, that's why it's so hard to break, man. Because there's like these little emotional attachments to it, So I was like, man, give me a cigarette. So I lit it up, and this was after several years of not smoking. And I was like, ugh. I couldn't. I took like a couple drags just for the like whatever the ceremony of it, and then I put it out. I was like, I can't. It's like I never smoked. Yeah. Wow. So that was like when I knew man,
you were
I
done.
broke it. Yeah, because I felt
Yeah,
I
you broke
approached it like mentally was like I was like a new, I was like whatever 16 again, where it's like, ew, what's this?
Yeah.
And like there was no attachment to it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going on maybe a little bit over a year of my last cigarette
Nice.
that I had. Yeah. But I was the kind of smoker that smoked off and on. Like
Okay.
I'd get a pack and just have a pack sitting in my house
Uh-huh.
or in my truck whenever it come up. And I guess I built within my psyche of already kind of a, not like a calendar, but kind of like a switch of emotional state. And if I got into that emotional state, that I absolutely need a cigarette because I go into this emotional, or I would feel this type of whether it be guilt, shame. I attach those feelings, those negative feelings, to having a cigarette to make me, I guess, quote unquote, feel better about what was going on. But yeah, even certain times, like if if I'm getting kind of irritated or anything like that, I'll get this overwhelming burst of like heat throughout my body, and that's like it was like a trigger moment. Boom, like that would happen, and I'm like, okay, I need a cigarette. Every time that would happen, and like I even now, like I get those experiences, and I'm like, damn, like a cigarette sounds really good. Like I think this is like a conversation that me and my partner have like every week, that I would tell her like, hey, like I just want to let you know that I've been you know, I've been hurting for a cigarette. And sometimes, some days I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna go buy a pack, have one, and see how it goes. Like I do, but then I just get caught up in whatever else I'm doing. Like it's just like a thought that I can just sweep away. But yeah, it's been like a year, and it's a combination of things with cigarettes and I. Yeah. It's a combination of like having like the psychedelic experiences along with that, and having like family members actually have medical problems with their lungs and stuff.
Right.
And now I've met a woman that is freaking amazing, and she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, she doesn't do anything. When I talk about like all the shit that I've done, she's like, oh my God, like she is totally yeah, exactly. She's one of those. And yeah, she was one of the main reasons why I quit, because like I felt it. I'm like, dude, like she doesn't do anything, and I have the worst habit in the freaking country right now.
Yeah.
That can possibly, like, it's harming my body, and I'm doing it to myself, And then
voluntarily,
yeah, it was all that. Yeah, voluntarily. And it was all that, plus all the pandemic and the whole the respiratory issues that people were getting towards the pandemic. I was like, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
That's interesting you say that, because when you first started talking about it, I didn't even put that together, but yeah, that's about that's the timeline,
Yeah.
And that's true. Yeah. It's, well, and I wondered too. So I've had, no issues as far as anything lung wise or whatever, but I do, what you call it? I remember hearing or having the thought that, like, well, shit, dude, I smoked from, whatever year to whatever year, even though I quit and I'm like out of the book. But yeah, man, I mean, it's not like I didn't smoke, right? So there's got to be some cumulative damage there.
Maybe.
Well, hopefully, God willing, it's
to
the point where everything's regenerated and I'm not in any risk, but it's still there.
I started when I was 12. Like, started smoking cigarettes when I was freaking 12 years old. Yeah,
that's pretty young. I mean, it's not that's not completely crazy, because I definitely knew people that smoked at that age. But yeah, that's
What
definitely
was it,
on
12?
the young side.
No, it was off and on 12 years old, and then I don't. It was off and on for 12 years old, maybe like every couple of times with hanging out with the guys or whatever. Even at that age, it was kind of shaky, but I didn't really get into it until like maybe 16, 17 years old.
Right.
And that's when I had my older sister. She was about 13 years older than me, buying me freaking packs too. And then also when you live in yeah, exactly, when you have yourself in an environment that is when your circle is nothing but smokers, it's kind of hard to get out, especially if you have family, right?
Big time. See, I didn't have family, but friends. Like I had, once I moved out, I pretty much moved out of my house at like 18 because I smoked like high school, when I went out and shit like that, or I'd sneak them, when I was driving or whatever. But when I officially moved out and like I had a roommate and he smoked too. So it was just like, it was on, it's just smoke. And then, you get those little, let's have a conversation. Like, let's talk, whatever you think in your head at like 19 or 20 is like super important that you need to sit there and like hash out, but that goes perfectly with like, you smoke, and you'll sit there and smoke like 5 cigarettes,
Yeah, exactly.
For like a conversation. And then, I mean,
yeah, it was, and plus it was a big social thing with my family.
Yeah.
It was like we all gathered in our backyard, and we all each got our own cigarette. And if we didn't have our own pack with us, auntie or cousin will have a cigarette waiting for you. So it's like that was different. And then plus it was a cultural family thing, I guess. When I was around that age, I was 17. Around that age, and we used to play cards. We played cards, smoked cigarettes for hours.
Yeah.
Played Rock Band. We smoked inside the house and played Rock Band for hours too. It was nuts.
Yeah, when you're smoking, that is a big difference. Like when you're not even going outside to smoke is when it really takes hold, cuz that was the situation when I was about 19. I had a roommate. And we smoked inside. Yeah. And that's when it was like it the whole time too. I had this uncle, my dad's brother, who smoked like 5. It was ridiculous, like 5 packs a day. Oh, it was absurd. And the whole time, like I knew, like he was an example of like, oh, don't do that. But like your brain at that age doesn't quite. You're like, well, I'm not like him. So you just keep, for you, it's like categorized differently than, the middle-aged person who's
when you think about it, you're just like, oh, like that's, that won't beat me, or that won't happen to me. That was always the excuse is, it can happen to that person, but not me.
Yeah. So that addiction is a tough one. So, hopefully you'll be able to kick that. But it sounds like you got a good.
No, I'm good now. I'm good. I kind of I have a spliff every now and then, mix weed mixed with tobacco. But then I'm just like, even smoke, dude. To be honest, even smoking weed kind of fucks my throat up too. And
does it?
Like I'm just like, oh man. Like, is there any way out? Is there any other products that I can do? And that's mainly why I went to the CBD place. And then the shop that I go to, I went there. I probably annoyed the hell out of all the bud tenders in there because I had so many questions that I was asking about their products. Because it's different. Like you smoke a joint and like how fast, how high you're gonna get, or how fast you're gonna get high or whatever. But like the amount of time. But what I was asking them is like the certain strains that build into the gummies and stuff. So now like I'm trying to get away from even doing cannabis certain ways rather than just smoking it, and then plus the smell too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've even though like I'm very pro cannabis, but I I don't know. They're I guess it's a certain thing that that goes along with doing certain things and the amount of or uh what I'm trying to get at is the people that smoke freaking weed 24/7. Like
Right.
it's hard.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like I wouldn't be able to do that 24/7.
And there's a difference too. Like so all people, like all air quote
Yeah.
users or whatever,
Yeah.
aren't created equal, right? There's the person, there's
Right.
the people that wake and bake and smoke
Yeah.
all freaking day, and they're even within that group. There's different things. So some people go into it with the intent that. So the big thing is like, well, marijuana is not addictive, blah blah blah. Well, it
Mhm.
can be, because anything can be addictive. Like there are people
Yeah.
who are attached to it like an addiction. All right.
Yes.
But there's people who smoke
Yeah.
it all day who it's not an addiction. They just do. So there's a lot of different intents on why people
Mhm.
smoke. Right. Even though
Yeah.
physically it's kind of the same thing. If two people
Yeah.
side by side, light up every 2 hours, for every single day of the week,
Right.
I guess technically it's the same thing, but it's really not, because
But it's the context, right?
the
What you're
context,
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
or the intent behind it. Like, what are
Right.
are you just doing it like on autopilot just because
Mhm.
like I can't deal with, I want to be in this sort of alternate state because I don't
Mhm.
like, I don't like how my face looks in the mirror when I'm regular. I don't
Yeah.
like thinking about those questions. I like to get in this other thing. Whereas there can be somebody who has the intent where it's like, well, this is opening some pathways for me to get somewhere. So yeah, intent has a lot to do with it too, not
Yeah.
just like what you're actually ingesting.
And then it's also the stigma that cannabis has along with it. Like when
Mhm.
you see somebody spark up or use cannabis, whatever amount throughout the day, the stigma is that that's just a lazy person that wants to be high all the time.
Right.
That's also a very very blanketed stigma that cannabis has around it,
Mhm.
and uh, I hate to be part of any of that because
Mhm.
um my past experiences living on my own and having my one room apartments and stuff, and I would light up and I'd have my neighbors uh banging on the door or have them having the police called on me because
Damn.
even mind you, I'm in California, Southern California.
Right.
This stuff is legal. I'm
Yeah.
here on my own property, I on my own lease, my own space. I'm not hurting anybody, but I still have the police called on,
Damn.
and that's I don't know. Like I was shocked by the third time that happened at that situation.
Mhm.
I was just like, dude, like I don't know. Like I was torn. I'm like, I have this certain thing that I want to do that's legal that I am able to do that is infringes on nobody else's rights. But if I do it, I'm still gonna have the police called.
Yeah.
And it was just it was I don't know. It was even now I think about it, and it's terrible. And it's so funny too because the police guy or the police dude he was annoyed. He was annoyed
That he
because
had to come
it was
out.
the same. He had to keep coming out
Yeah.
and coming out, and he was like, "Hey, like I know, this is the issue she has. I mean, can you just?" And I'm just like, "It. What am I doing?" And I was asking him, I was like, "What am I doing?" I was literally sincere, and I was heartbroken. Yeah, I was heartbroken. I was pissed too
Yeah.
about this whole situation.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
I'm
I bet.
like, what am I doing? And plus, to top it all off, like I hate nothing against police or anything like that, but it's just the the amount of I get anxiety that I get because of my past experiences with policemen, either with myself or my family or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I start to look at those past experiences, they didn't end well.
Yeah.
They didn't end well at all. They ended up with somebody either handcuffed and locked up, or maybe something worse.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But
Yeah,
yeah, because of weed, it was just like,
Right.
really, dude, you're coming out here, and why are you calling cops?
And that's the
Honestly,
thing, like, right?
can you come over and talk to me?
Any kind of, anytime you have to engage with the police,
Mm-hmm.
it's, so there are certain circumstances, right, where maybe you could like stand tall and just be like, there's nothing to worry about here, blah, blah, blah. But if they're even questioning you about anything, you're on the back foot, right?
Yeah.
It's up to you at that point. You're guilty if the cops are, what am I trying to say? If somebody's calling the cops and the cops are making a trip to come talk to you and ask you questions, you're presumed, no matter what the judicial system says, at that stage, you're presumed guilty until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
Right? Until somebody made the call. So being in that situation socially is, like you just pointed out, is not fun.
Yeah.
Because the percentage of things that can go right are way less than the things that could go wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that sucks, especially when you're doing something that's well within your rights.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's like now you have, now I or used to have this type of anxiety that was before I was freewheeling, didn't care, not a care in the world.
Uh-huh.
I had my own place. I mean, come on, like, and then now I have to think twice. I'm like, if I spark up, what's gonna happen? Is the police gonna come and knock on my door again? Is this person gonna come over and start banging on my door, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
dude, that sucks. Like, y'all made so much progress. Like, as a Texan, sitting here jealous as shit. That really bums me out to know that
this happens. Yeah,
that you're
dude, this
dealing with
is
that,
still
honestly
happening.
I thought that wasn't
No.
something, in other words, in my little Texas brain, would even conceive.
Not all Californians are made different. I mean, never mind. I fucked that up.
I know exactly what you were trying to say.
Not all Californians are made
equal,
the same.
right?
Yeah, created equal, pretty much. Yeah, there still is a certain percentage of Californians that do not wish cannabis to be legal, or they're wishing things would go back to how it is. But then again, I get it. And then I was thinking, I was like, okay, maybe there is some middle ground that we should reach here. And I'm a reasonable guy.
Right.
I'm a reasonable guy. And yeah, I had not a care in the world. Maybe maybe the smoke did bother her. Okay, I'll give her that. And I gave her that human respect, because we had a wall just separating our apartment. So yeah, I mean, I get it. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. Like, I get that. But fucking, why don't call the cops? For one.
Yeah, knock on the door.
Yeah.
It's like a music thing. First move is, let's knock on the door. Like, so I'll have to, you'll have neighbors, right? Like, we're all neighbors. We have to live together.
Right, of course.
So so if I have a neighbor that, man, dude, there's like 30 cars parked outside, like loud and shit, I'm not going to call the cops, man. Like, I know I'm going to walk over and say, hey, man, like, there may be a time where I'm having a lot of people over, right? And I'm being the asshole.
Of course, yeah.
So, step one is like, hey, brother, I got to work tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I got to be there, whatever. Hey, can you keep it down? Blah, blah, blah. That's step one.
Right.
The reaction to that, normally, for most regular people, is going to be like, oh, shit, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I get it. Thank you for approaching me with that. not just like autopilot calling the cops. I appreciate that. You know what? Yeah, we'll chill out.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, man. A lot of times they do. Not all
Yeah.
the time. And if they don't, then if
Yeah.
you have to take it a step, then you call the cops. But yeah, the people that just
Yeah.
let's call the cops.
But I mean, in the defense, that was around the time that my cousin was staying with me because we had we
I'm
exactly.
already
We're-
expecting a great story, so continue.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we were working at a venue for the summer, working on an event, and so he's a big stoner. He was crashing on my couch. He literally made my whole living room his room. So yeah, he even brought his own pictures. It was fucking Leo's crazy. Shout out to you, brother. But yeah, so when I would get home throughout our work week, because I worked in the mornings and he worked I worked in the morning, so I would get home earlier than he did. So I would be knocked out already by the time he would be here. So when he would start lighting up at night, I was already knocked out. Right. So most of the times that she used to bang on the door, or they used to bang on the door because it was multiple people, was I was asleep. So I had no idea what was going on.
Oh.
So even when the police finally was called, I was the one that answered the door, and he was already gone weeks ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he I don't know if it was a combination of him and me being out of it, and so I think that had a lot to do with it too. But then again, she or they didn't really talk to me.
Right.
I mean, there was no conversation at all.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it now, and I don't think they had a conversation with my cousin, because my cousin's the type of not to even answer the door, or he's the type of you start going off at him at a certain tone, and he'll just slam the fucking door on your face.
Yeah, and that's probably that'll probably get the cops called. That kind of.
Did I deserve it? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Now that we're breaking it down, like, yeah, I would have called the cops. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Maybe there was a little bit of more build up than initially.
There was. I'm telling you, dude. It's the battle, and now I'm just like, you know what? I'll just go around the corner if I want to smoke. Yeah. But then it goes back to using. There's other ways rather to consume. There's other ways to consume cannabis rather than smoking it. So
yeah, no,
I'm looking at those options, or I have looked at those options. So
it's funny you mentioned that. There's so many more. Like, I remember back when. I mean, obviously it's still illegal here, but like when it was illegal everywhere, growing up and stuff, to where the only way to procure it was through illegal means. There wasn't like, like edibles was just, some chick at her apartment would
make
some brownies. Yeah. Like that was like, so that's what edibles were. Right. Like, and then you'd hear about like somebody would like, go to the Netherlands or whatever, or Amsterdam, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, dude, they have like what? They make like Reese's makes a freaking cups with THC in them and shit." There's this whole like line of products. I was like, "What the fuck? Like this actually exists?" And like so now, it is interesting. There's so many more ways. But that, in other words, I guess my point is like back then it just seemed like such an exotic thing to have these like manufactured like edible products, and now it's like
everything, dude. You can make the hemp plant is just freaking, it's immaculate, man. You can use it for clothing, you can use it for there's the textile that you can use it. That has a medicinal purposes. You can make paper. It's I'm still going through all the stuff. There's this book called The Emperor Wears New Clothes
Mm-hmm.
by Jack Herr, and he breaks down the prohibition of cannabis in the early 30s.
You said Jack
Uh,
Herr?
Jack Herr, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's actually that's it's a strain of weed also. That's how I remember his name. That book came up and I was like, Jack, why does that sound so Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
that's
used to
why.
smoke.
Yeah,
Yeah, I used to smoke
shit.
that back in college. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know what
bro.
that is. Yeah. But yeah, that one's a good one. Talks about how I guess was it George W. Bush's grandfather. I guess he was in the, or I think it was Walker Bush actually. I think coming out of airplane. You and his whole uniform was made out of hemp, and
dope, dude.
yeah, his boots had hemp on them. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, all those crazy different like little stories. It's really the history of cannabis.
Yeah. That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
I'll have to give it a go.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, I'll put the link down in the description, and I'll send it over to you. I was gonna do, I was gonna do a whole show on it, but then that didn't. I think we ended up smoking weed, and we were gonna smoke weed and talk about the book, but the book never came up, and we just started talking about aliens, probably.
Yeah, I mean, man, hey, I don't know if you want to get into that, but what are your thoughts on all this stuff that's been coming out government wise? This is one of the things. Just man, for years and years and years, like I had in my head that like it was never, almost like growing up thinking about legalizing marijuana, dude. I'll be honest, like I didn't see it taking this hold. Like in my head, in my little teenage brain, it's cool to have those conversations like, oh dude, that'd be dope. Like it's just fucking Babylon, bro. They're trying to keep us down, like with
Yeah.
Right. And like you have these conversations, but if I actually had to say, like, I didn't think it was ever gonna be happen. So that is right. So similar to like UFO disclosure, right? I grew up listening to all that shit and was big into the whole ufology and the whole phenomenon. So now that like they're nobody's admitting, like nobody's showing you pictures of like alien life forms or anything like that. We're not that at that point, but
they're acknowledging
acknowledging the shit, which is big, because they're acknowledging like, hey, yeah, there's things flying around, we don't have a clue. Like we pretty sure it ain't China, it ain't Russia. We don't know what the fuck these things are. which that's crazy, dude. That in itself, it's almost like you kind of feel this warm fuzzy feeling like, hey man, that's all I wanted you to say.
That's it. That's all we wanted.
That's all like we know that, that. Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because nobody knows what the fuck this is.
Yeah, now tell us about JFK. How about that
exactly.
one?
Like,
okay, we talked about aliens. Now, what about what happened at Dealey Plaza?
Maybe that's the next step, man. Maybe that's where we're headed.
Yeah,
you think? I don't know. You think they'll ever spill the beans on that?
No, I think it's like 2080 something that they're gonna release files again,
and nobody cares anymore. At that point, it's like a sort of little snippet. Yeah, no shit, right? They'll just wait till it's not even really that big a deal, because here we are. It's
relevant.
Only was it 4, right? Or 60?
Yeah, 63. I think
63. Yeah. So shit, that's only a few decades away. So once you get into the next,
aren't they releasing files of the UFO or some sightings? I seen something on YouTube about that on
they've got
the Gaia network.
So they created a task force that is supposed to account for all these sightings, and Yeah, I guess the biggest change is that they're actually straight up coming out and saying like, yeah, this is.
But they have to have like they have a task force for UFOs and just generally, right? Like the military.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I'm sure on some
Yeah.
level
Some level,
they
right?
had
Yeah.
to have had like all along some sort of group that's looking, and we're based on the assumption that the reality is they don't know what the fuck it is either. So obviously they did have that. I think the difference is just that they're finally to a place where they're like, yes, we can publicly acknowledge that we have a team that's looking into this stuff instead of trying to play it off like, this charade that there's not something going
Yeah.
on,
Yeah. Yeah. The aliens. I don't just a thought. Hold on. Just a thought of extraterrestrials just give me. I'm telling you, man. They just. I don't know. Like out of all the stuff that I'm into, just I think the thought of aliens is just fucking. It fucks with me.
Yeah, because
It
that's
really
it,
does.
right? Like once that's established, that's the old. Nothing really matters. Am I right? Like
no. Hold on. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Like everything that we believe, all you have to do is throw an entire other civilization into that equation, and it's like that's a whole nother equation now.
I wonder what the Vatican is thinking about this.
That's interesting.
Because once aliens are, or once just aliens are considered a thing, what does that do to organized religion?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic because like it depends on what. I've actually got a real close friend that has some thoughts on this. He's a member of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and so in their doctrines it talks a lot about these like there's 300 worlds and there's so it doesn't necessarily contradict. So in other words, like another species essentially, because if we're still going with biology as a thing, it essentially just be another species just because they're from another, right? Like another planet or solar system. So it wouldn't necessarily throw off, and there's a number of reasons for that, but that in itself wouldn't necessarily overhaul the whole concept of what their beliefs are. And then it depends on what kind of a religious how constrictive your beliefs are on what, if you're sitting there thinking the world was created in 7 fucking calendar days, the same way we think of
the
it.
Fundamentalists, the fun people.
Yeah, then it's not going to work.
They put the fun in fundamentalists.
Yeah, they sure do. They really put they have a lot of fun.
Those are the people that think that, or they their faith, they believe that God created the heavens and the earth in 7 days, the Trinity and all that stuff.
If you've got, if you're holding on to those things, it's going to throw off your whole thing. And
what are you going to say? Like what? I wonder how that sermon's going to be on that Sunday after they release stuff about aliens. Like what? What kind of questions? What's going to be in the suggestion box?
Yeah, or like you brought up earlier,
Sunday?
like the Vatican. Like what's their take on it? I think at some point the Vatican's just going to like throw all the papacy in there. Like, oh fuck, like we can't keep up anymore. Like I don't know what we're gonna.
Maybe the Vatican holds of political, political overhead over that type of information.
That's true. Or have they known all along?
Yeah.
And this is part of it, right? Like they're one step ahead. Like that is part of the prophecies and all this shit. Because if you hold on to those like as I mean, this is kind of, I don't want to try to take it too far off topic, but like, so if you look at the Bible, right, it's a piece of literature, right? Whenever you read, so it's the only book that people have well, not the only book, like other, you could argue, I
Yeah.
guess the Quran or any
Yeah.
other big religious scriptures from other
Mm.
cultures
But it's the most popular.
right.
The Holy Bible is the most popular.
For sure. And so,
Right.
like, the point being, like, I guess what I was trying to get at is, so when you read, let's say, a work of fiction, right? I mean, dude, there's people whose whole career is based on fucking analyzing one paragraph of, like, Voltaire, right?
Yeah.
And breaking that shit down into, like, a 600-page fucking essay.
Yeah.
That's a real shit. Like, literary criticism is crazy. Like, all these different factors, these societal factors of, like, at the time when he was writing this, it was like, and there's this satire that you can only quite grasp if you were living in the 1700s in fucking Paris, that, like, there's so much shit. But, like, somehow with the Bible, it's like, oh, no, it's this. Like, no, motherfucker. Like, it's subjected
or it's up to, it's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
And what were you gonna say? Subjected to what?
Well, I guess it's like, so when you take, like, a piece of literature that's written for the sake of whatever, you embrace all those different factors, right? You don't hold them dogmatic because it's not in the same context. You're just like, it's a piece of art, right? So you're looking at it as like, oh, okay, well, but there's so many different dynamics to it. It's like, you're reading it translated into English, okay, right? That's one. So a lot of things already get kind of the filter, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're catching fish with a big ass net, you're gonna get some shrimp in there. You're gonna get whatever the hell, fucking barnacles and all kinds of bullshit. You know what I mean? So there's that. I'm kind of getting a little bit carried away with it, but I guess my point being is, you have to look at the concepts and how they're being delivered, or like whatever the message is, instead of the actual package itself, which is what people get hung up on, and why it gets so spun out of control, and they get so dug into these ideas that, like, you're hanging on. In other words, you're sitting there arguing over all the bullshit that's, like, gets filtered out of the net, when you really just want to talk about the shrimp, that you caught or whatever.
Yeah, that especially the Holy Bible is that's an interesting one too. And if you want to hear it, if you want to read into a little bit more about about mushroom and religion, you should check out the Sacred Cross, and what is it? Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. I'm sorry, by John M. Allegro.
I'm writing that down.
He's that one's a whole trip. I won't go too in depth with it, but majority what he states is that the whole Bible is pretty much interpreted very differently than what fundamentalist Christians take out of it, considering the piece of what is going on, and pretty much stating that the whole Bible was misinterpreted, and Jesus was misinterpreted for being a psychedelic mushroom, which is freaking. I know. Well, the first time I heard that shit, I was just like,
huh,
what the fuck? Yeah.
You're right. Sounds like something some dude at a party tried to convince you, like,
yeah, exactly.
no,
But
man,
it's an actual freaking, it's a book. This guy is very very highly he's highly recognized in science and archaeology, and which is the reason why I gravitated towards it, because he was the only person on the Dead Sea Scroll panel that did not follow the faith of Christianity. He was the only agnostic person on there. So that kind of struck me. Okay, everybody else is going through this faith. He has a totally different outview on what the Dead Sea Scrolls are, minus the faith and belief and stuff, and just looking at the stuff, looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls with an open science mind rather than having that belief or faith being held over you. You know what I mean? So
No.
that like when I heard that, I was just like, oh, cool. I checked it out, and it's tons of stuff. He breaks down different verses and linguistics and how people talked at the time, and yeah, it's really interesting, really cool stuff.
That is, yeah, I'll definitely check that out because, yeah, that's my thoughts exactly. Is like, and you know, even if he, so let's say this, even if his take isn't the accurate truth, 100%, it's still valuable to look into that as an exercise because it does force
Right.
you to pull back and really look at, because at the end it's like information, right? Going from point A
Yeah.
to point B. So what
Right.
stops? What are the barriers between it getting to point A and point B? Well, like we've talked before, there's culture, there's linguistics, there's
Yeah.
blah blah blah, like whatever. So yeah, you could, just like in a story, like if you're going to tell a story, right, you'd have the character, you'd have the tortoise and the hare. Well, the tortoise is going to, even something as simplistic as that, like a story for kids, you have themes and you have characters that represent certain ideas. Same thing with like any type of literature. So you're going to have, just because it's the Holy Bible, right, doesn't mean that the whoever is the original author of a certain story or a certain book isn't trying to use literary concepts to try to convey a message. So why just throw all that shit out and just sit there? Well, no, it says 7, like 7, 7 days.
Yeah.
There's 7 days is a week,
Yeah.
But I don't, so yeah, why not? In other words, like it pisses me off when people just like bear down on an idea and don't even either question or even are not even open to any sort of pushback. You can't be like that with anything. Like nothing's fixed. The whole, like, the nature of the universe is like change and in motion. Like, how can ideas fall into the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So fuck.
I don't know. Like how does Houston have a huge lion just roaming the streets?
Yeah, no shit, dude.
How does that happen?
How does that happen, man? There's a lot of factors, like, but you know what it definitely tells you is shit, man, be on your toes, because you, like, whatever reality you concoct. I mean, that's the message I get from the whole thing, is like, you could just be going to your mail and there's a tiger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if people who lived on that street, I think it's like Ivy Co. I looked it up, like, because when we were trying to confirm exactly where it was.
Yeah.
When we were recording the show. So I think it was something like that, like Ivy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But point being, there's people that live on that street who maybe at the time of the tiger, maybe they did have the thought, like, you know what, I'm going to go get my mail now. And they start walking, they see that, well, maybe I'll wait. Maybe I'll wait till this situation shakes out a little bit, and then I'll go get my mail. But regardless, that is a possibility.
How do you even look for a big cat like that?
You don't? You don't, right?
Do you look for it? You're asking for something if you're looking for a fucking tiger.
Right. And you know what, though? I'll be dead honest. I may now. Like, as I'm walking to go get my mail, my head might swivel a little bit more than it did prior to Sunday, when that was not really a reality, and now it is. I mean, you always look for like snakes or whatever. I mean, I look down. That's something I'm cognizant of, especially during certain times of the year. Look for, okay, I don't want to step on a snake and get bit by
snakes, crocodiles, lions.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
You mentioned that you seen a floating dead body.
Sure,
was
did.
that you?
Yeah, that was me. You? That was me. So I went to the university that I attended. Was University of Houston downtown. So this is a separate school than the University of Houston, which is on the south side of town off of Cullen or whatever. So University of Houston downtown is it's like a commuter school. So it's kind of interesting. It's right in the heart of downtown on Main Street. It's an old building. It was I think it was like a merchant manufacturer building that they, in the 60s, I think somebody purchased it and turned it into a school. So yeah, we would have like a funny story about that. So, well, let me tell, you brought up the body. So I was walking, I parked, and one day I had class, and there was this bridge that went over, and there's like a train line that goes right up into the front. Like, matter of fact, it's like literally like the first stop on the what they call the metro rail that runs through the city. And it's one, like the address of the building is 1 Main Street, like like O-N-E, 1 Main Street. What? Yeah. Wow. So it's like a 5-6 story building, and they've over time have added on to it. But when I went there, it was like, I think just that the main building, and then maybe one other across the street. And it's like it's right across the street from the Harris County, the jail. And so yeah, Buffalo Bayou runs, and Houston is called, one of the nicknames is the Bayou City. There's like,
really?
Yeah, normally bayous you associate with Louisiana, that's the case too. But obviously Houston being in proximity to Louisiana, a lot of the geography is pretty similar. So, so yeah, there's all these bayous that run through the city, which are these little dank ass like bodies of water. If you don't know if you're from, depending on what part of the country you're from or what part of the world, they're like these little, basically like shitty rivers that, you know what I mean? I don't know what the exact scientific difference between a river and a bayou, but so right under the school, there's like a bridge, and the bayou runs over.
Well, when you think, maybe the difference is when you think of a bayou, you hear a banjo.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Banjo. Yeah, alligators too. I think another
a banjo and alligator go hand in hand.
So you have so I'm walking, just going to school, and walking up, there's this big ass hill, dude, that would like exhaust you from the where you had to park. And but I see there's a crowd like on the bridge that overhangs this or runs over the top of this where the bayou runs through the bottom of the school. Right. And yeah, there's cops and there's all these things. So I tapped this one dude. I was like, dude, what the hell? What's going on? And he points it out, and it's like, yeah, there's this like a lump. And he's like, yeah, it's a body, some murder victim or something. So it's like, okay, yeah,
somebody, damn.
Something happened, and unfortunately they were like, it was full active scene where they had, everything was taped off. They had officers, they had like a medical team, and they were like they had just like dragged it to the, to the bank or whatever, and we're about to throw it in a bag and everything. And damn, yeah, it's pretty gnarly. Like it's a school, like I said, it's right in the downtown, so it's very urban. So you get a lot of, you can't walk to your car without getting, a homeless guy asking you for money, or you have to be very careful. Like they had, what do you call it? They had a bus. At the time, it was so sketchy that they had a bus you could take that would go, but because it's downtown, right, and the streets are like one way, you would almost go like damn near almost like a mile out of your way just to come back to the parking lot, so you wouldn't have to walk that like little stretch. Because like I said, it's a commuter school, so they have a lot of night classes and stuff like that. So for me, whatever, right, like I was a young man, I'll just walk it. But yeah, for like if you're a female, it's definitely advisable to probably take that bus, take the safer route. But I forgot what I was gonna say. So you can just walk right up, right? Like I said, the metro rail runs right to the thing. So one of the funny stories, man, there was a library on like the 3rd floor. And it wasn't uncommon for you go to the restroom and there's like a homeless dude brushing his teeth in the sink.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just like common, like every day.
Yeah.
At that
That's
school.
common downtown LA stuff.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like LA.
Wait, hold on. That's common Planet Fitness. When you go to the gym, there's
Right, dude, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially like now, it's even worse. The situation. This was, this was quite a long time ago. But anyway, so one of the funniest things that I saw, man, you go up to the library and there was like a little checkpoint, I feel like, where you had to like show a badge or something. But anyhow, one day I went up there just to kill some time, like between classes or whatever. So I was going to get on the computer, and occasionally you would see homeless guys up there in the library that somehow bypassed the checkpoints. But there was a dude just straight up somehow, and I guess they didn't have like security stuff set up on the computers, just porn, dude. I laughed. What? I laughed so hard. Yeah, there was just like this homeless guy straight up clicking on all kinds of porn in the college library.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was like a moment where I stopped and I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like you.
Oh my god.
And he didn't give a shit because he's like, dude, for his lifestyle, it's just like, yeah, kick me out. Like, what are you gonna do? I made it. Like I'm sitting here.
I made it.
I don't have a dime to my name, but I finagled a situation to where I got all the porn I want at the at my fingertips.
At my disposal. Yeah.
At my disposal. Yeah, I'm gonna sit here until they kick me out. And that's what he was doing. He's just like looking up porn on that computer.
Damn. Did they ever get him out, or did you?
I'm sure they did. I didn't see it go down. I'm sure at some point somebody said something, but but yeah, that was kind of funny. I always remember that. The guy, because I walked, so I saw him and it was just like, oh, okay, whatever. Like he got up here. But then when I walked past, like I did the little turnaround and then saw what was on the screen. And that's
shit.
That was the payoff for the punchline, was this dude looking up porn.
That's fucking hilarious.
But just no like trying to hide it. Like I said, it was like he won. Like that was a victory for the day.
He won.
And like whatever it was, like he was just gonna wait until somebody kicked him out. But until then, he was living the life.
Hashtag winning, bro.
Hashtag winning. Absolutely. He did. It's all perception. Like, like there's so many things that you can do if you don't give a shit about the little sort of like inconveniences of worrying about what people think of you, right? Like, so if you're if you're this guy, presumably, asking for money or just, pretty rough situation.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, I don't care. I just need to see some shit. I need to get, cause I'm a human, I've got sexual urges I need to take care of. You get to a point where you're willing to, it's not like he's embarrassed, obviously, just white up in public. So he got his, man, and whatever happened. He got kicked out.
Yeah, that moment of realization when you think about the that's a powerful thing. Yeah. Think about it, dude. The power to not give a shit. The subtle art of not giving a fuck, man.
It really is
really powerful, because you can't do everything, but you can do something.
Yeah.
Right? And when you have that, I guess, in the back of your mind about doing certain things without the fear of people, have the fear of people thinking a certain thing about you, then you're fucking winning, dude.
You are. And
I think,
it shows, like, it's funny because I didn't intend on, like, when I was telling that story, it was just for a chuckle, but like you really do look at that and you think, man, how much we hold ourselves back by these like perceptions of like, oh, well, maybe they'll think this or maybe they'll think that. And you realize like how prevalent that is, because, man, to bring it all the way back around to earlier part of the conversation, that ego, because your ego, man, it hurts when people think you suck, or like,
dude. It physically hurts.
It does.
Think about it.
It hurts in your
really
gut,
does.
man.
It fucks you up.
Yeah, rejection.
On a growth level too. Yeah. You're trying to do something that maybe nobody has done before, and that's where they're squinting their eyes, looking at you, and saying that, oh, this is different. We don't like different. We want you to do exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which is it's a perception of their own person's fear. I mean, that's what I get out of when people try to stop others from doing things, not because of they somehow. Pretty much what I'm saying is when you look at somebody and the fear that you get from other people doing certain things that you wouldn't do, and that's what it is. You're thinking about what you wouldn't do,
right? What
you think is right for other people, regardless of what their intentions are.
Yeah. So it's not like, I'm advocating. Yeah, just walk into a university library, man, and click on whatever the hell porn you can.
Basically, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. But like, the bigger scheme of things, it's like, definitely take notice in your own head if you can of what little just bullshit things are keeping you from doing something just because of something you think somebody might say. Shit, man. You bum yourself out if you really start to look at that and like analyze your own behavior on like all the little things I might have stopped myself from doing just because of a perception of what they might say, not what they did say, like what they might say, or even worse, what they might think.
And when you start getting into that, you're thinking that something that is, you don't even know that it is completely right.
Yeah.
But you're taking in that information, thinking about somebody else's thoughts.
Yeah.
So you're thinking of somebody else thinking what they think of you.
Yeah. Now you're like 4 steps removed from reality at that point. Like you created a whole dialogue that didn't exist.
You're self-prophesizing is what you're doing.
Yeah, of thoughts that like don't even, and you're even using somebody else's thoughts in that equation, which is even more ludicrous.
Which isn't more insane.
Yeah,
but it's dude, if anybody gets anything from this podcast, it's that fucking Ben is the man. And that we can do anything. We can go into a library and watch porn.
Absolutely.
And we can, what else? I don't know. That there's a lion creeping around Houston. So I mean, I don't know. My hat is off to you, Ben. Ben, this was freaking cool, man.
Yeah, I hopefully at some point we'll be able to do it again, man. Because I really did have a lot of fun. I appreciate you bringing me on, man. This is great.
Yeah. No, dude, we can go probably for another freaking 2 hours, but I don't want I don't want to do that to you. But yeah, man, go ahead and take some time and let us know what's going on with Skip the Noise. If you have a website, anything you want me to check out right here. You have a platform, you have whatever, go ahead and give us your little thing about Skip the Noise.
Yeah, for sure, man. So absolutely the number one thing is listen to the podcast, man. Skip the Noise podcast. It's available on every platform you can get your hands on: Apple, Spotify, everything in between. As far as our social media, the main hub for everything is probably going to be that Instagram. It's what we're most active on. But even within that, the Instagram bios provides a link tree for all the other stuff we're on. So that's skip_the_noise_ just Skip the Noise podcast with underscores in between. I'm getting too tired to spell it out. But you can find us there. But yeah, as far as the show itself, just to kind of give a brief summary, what we aim to do is to provide not an escape, but just a different perspective on news, politics, cultural situations and issues that happen in the world, or discussion points, right? mainstream media
Yeah.
is obviously dead and gone as far as being a reliable source. The internet's great, podcasts are great, but we try to deliberately inject differing views just by the nature of the show. Mexican Nostradamus has liberal views. Rick has traditionally conservative views. I'm kind of, you've now listened to me for a couple hours, so you know I'm kind of a unique individual with I provide that element to the show. So anyway, but with the three-headed monster, I think we provide a show that provides a space to where all opinions are welcome and everything is taken seriously. But obviously it's digestible. We like to have fun as well. We
it's great. Yeah.
So
they're on Skip the Noise is on my weekly listen.
Awesome, man.
Definitely.
Good to hear.
Yeah, I get my news from Skip the Noise and Inner Monologue.
Fuck yeah. Yeah,
That's right. I don't even flip on
show.
CNN. Fuck Tucker Carlson. I listen to Skip the Noise and Inner Monologue.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, you know, and that's the actual. That's like the what do you call it? Like the sexy, like, what do you call it? Aspiration of the biggest part of my ego is like, man, somebody actually is gonna get their information. Because that's the thing, like this day and age, man. Like, there's so many sources.
Oh yeah.
It has to come from something real, right?
Yeah.
So why not? Yeah, you come get her. Your thoughts on the world, come get them from Skip the Noise. So thanks, man. Thanks, Gill, for the shout out on that. It's my dream come true right there.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Yeah, and as we get closer to the airing of the show, then yeah, definitely, man. So yeah, cool. Ben, thanks for being here. This was freaking cool. Great conversation piece. Anybody that loved this presentation, go ahead to the show notes. You can catch Skip the Noise on the links that I will be provided down at the notes, among other stuff. So watch this space and watch Skip the Noise. Listen to Skip the Noise, Mindbuzz, and I'm out. Cool. Thanks, Ben, for being here. Appreciate it, dude.
Absolutely, brother.
The Mindbuzz Podcast.